Welcome to Dream by Design with Melissa Banks, where women share their dreams, struggles, and successes. How they were able to persevere despite the fear and create the life they want and deserve. If you're looking for inspiration to move you past where you normally would stop, then this is the show for you. Here's your host, Melissa Banks.
Welcome to Dream by Design with Melissa Banks. I'm excited you could be with us today. I'm your host, Melissa Banks. And today, we have another amazing woman to share her journey with us and how she was able to keep going despite the circumstances. Today, we have Tonya Coleman. Tonya is the CEO of Soray Event Design, which is a full-service event planning and graphic design studio specializing in launch design, branding, event graphics, and promotional studio media graphics. Tonya is also the founder of the Partypreneur School of Party Planning. Welcome to the show, Tonya. Thank you for being here.
Thank you. Thanks for having me. I'm excited to be here.
Wonderful. I am excited to hear more about your business because you have a lot going on in a lot of places, and it's so exciting. And you've experienced quite a bit of success in your business. When did you know you had a passion for event planning and styling parties?
Well, that's kind of funny because it kind of fell in my lap, but I started off really with a love of kids parties, and that came really by having kids. and back in the day when Pinterest launched and all these gorgeous parties started emerging, and I'm like, oh, I can do that. And so just planning my own kids parties and my own baby showers, and I just got kind of bit by that party planning bug early on and realized really quickly that I loved the whole process of the planning part, the seeing your ideas come to life, and the best part was just seeing the kids' faces when they walked into the room and the moms' faces when they came in and saw all the work that we had put in, and that was just basically, I wanted to keep doing that. I wanted to replicate that as much as possible.
Well, awesome. You know, we're both in the event industry, and one of the things that led me to the industry was just what you just said, putting the pieces together all behind the scene and then seeing it all come together and be an amazing event, and then see the guests and the clients enjoy what you put together. One area I haven't done much in is the kids area, which is really your specialty. So what challenges does it bring, or what differences is it when you're planning for kids and when you're planning for, say, a couple or an adult?
Yep. So right now, my business has gone through so many metamorphoses, and right now we're focused on corporate clients mostly, but we do stay within our niche of family-oriented, kid-oriented, youth-oriented. So we do a lot of we do the UNCF Twin Cities Mass Ball every year, so that's got a focus on sending college-age kids to school. So we stay within our niche, but we broaden our scope of work to include more corporate-style events, and there is a huge difference between that and styling kids parties and doing kids parties. But we also do large-scale kids events too, so that really does kind of stay in the same lane as far as planning a larger event, similar to a wedding or a corporate event, something like that. But the smaller parties, the challenges are that there's a budget issue most times where clients will expect a lower rate because it's a kid's party as opposed to a wedding, let's just say. And the amount of time and the logistics involved in execution, sometimes, depending upon what they're asking for, are almost the same. So, you know, when they get the budget, sometimes they get sticker shock, and I have to kind of coach them through no, this is actually what it costs, and then when they bring you these gorgeous photos on Pinterest, they have no idea how much work goes into that and how much time goes into that. And so then they have that education that I have to do too, which is pretty interesting. So I find that pricing is mostly the biggest challenge as far as the client-facing piece. But behind the scenes, it's pretty much all the same as far as dealing with my clients, whether it's a kids' party or a corporate.
Okay, awesome. So as a female entrepreneur and building your business as a female, do you face different challenges than you think you may would face if you were not a female? And then what challenges directly involving being a female entrepreneur do you face, and how do you overcome them?
Oh, girl, yeah. So when I first started my business over 20 years ago, I started it in Atlanta, Georgia, and my company was strictly in a graphic design studio at that time. And back then, I was one of the only, I might have been the only, actually, graphic designer in Atlanta at that time. And being a Black woman on top of that, it was very, very limited. And I would always feel that negative stereotype, being the only woman in the room during client meetings and things like that, and, you know, being able to speak up. And I've always been very vocal and very dominant in conversations. So I never would allow the intimidation that you kind of would feel from others to derail me from what it is I needed to communicate. So I never really played that game. But I did see it, and I did feel it as being a woman, that I had to be extra vocal. I had to, you know, do a little bit more to be noticed and things, you know, to be part of that good old boys club. You know, you had to hang out with them, and, you know, so it was very challenging. And then as a single mom at the time, too, that brought a whole other load of challenges on top of it. Mm-hmm. So, yeah, being a woman in this industry, and then when I transitioned into event planning, there are way more women in event planning. So I felt like, whoo, this is my people right here. So I did feel at least that I was among, you know, my own as far as gender. But there is that closed offness, though, that I experienced personally of, you know, just women event planners not wanting to work with one another, not wanting to share with one another. So that I felt to be a little odd, because in my journey, I got way more support and way more mentorship and things like that from the males in my life, and not the females. So it's been really interesting in that way. And I don't know whether that's just specific to the event planning industry or not, but I experienced it a lot in the event planning industry, more so than I did in the graphic design side of my business.
Wow, that's an interesting point you just brought up, and one that not a lot of us talk about, but that's there. So in my 20-year career, I have noticed that women event planners don't share or don't connect a whole lot. Actually, I thought it was my area that I live in. But since you brought that up, how do you think we could heal in that area where and another guest talked about supporting each other in other industries and building up? So what do you think event planners and people in the event industry, females, could do to merge that gap that we have that's really there? We just don't talk about it a lot.
Yeah, I think that finding the right ones who are willing to share their stories, because I was so irritated when I first started the party planning part of my business, once I morphed my two businesses together, and I didn't know anything. So I was green as all get out. And so I reached out to a few party planners that were in LA. I was living in LA at the time, and none of them would return my calls. No one would return an email, nothing. And so I decided, once I figured out the secret sauce of how to launch a kids party planning business successfully, and once I was making a consistent revenue stream in that line of my business consistently, I just decided I was going to write a book about my journey. So I wrote an ebook, and I would encourage a lot of other female entrepreneurs that have done it well, you know, and have a proven framework or a proven method or journey that worked for them, to share it with people, because there's billions of people in this world. There's no reason for there to be a competitive issue when, you know, we've got people having babies every day, people get married every day, people have, you know, everyone has a birthday. So it just seems like there's so much work for us to go around that it should be in our best interest to lift each other up and not tear one another down, or not try to deliberately keep each other down. So sharing information freely, I think, is, for one thing, it's just good karma. I'm a God-fearing woman, I'm a Christian woman, and I believe what you put out will come back and the Lord will bless it. And so that has happened to me in my life. I just freely put that out there, and I wrote my whole journey down in an ebook and shared that with people. And the amazing response that I got back from women who were so happy to have someone finally sharing what works, what to do, and not afraid to put the information out there, how to price. Like I was talking money and everything, and nobody wants to talk about that. And so the camaraderie that was created just from writing that ebook was so reaffirming to me that that was missing in our market across the board, because these weren't women who just lived in my town. These are women all across the United States. So like you said, you thought it was kind of just in your area. No, it was everywhere. So I would just encourage women, there's no reason why. Lift back and pull up. If you make it, we have an obligation to, look back and lift someone else up. Even if it's one person that you can help with your story, you should just be willing to share that. And there's so many ways nowadays with social media and Clubhouse now and all kinds of this radio show. There's so many ways that we can share our stories, and there's so much power in stories that I just feel like people shouldn't be afraid to share it.
I absolutely 100% agree with you. In fact, when I started my business over 20 years ago, one of the reasons I was so adamant about helping people in whatever way that I could is because I did approach another female business and asked about certifications and how do you find out more about event planners, because that was really not something that was in this area, so it's very new, and she refused to give me any information. So I found the information, I worked hard, but because of that experience, I'm open and I want to share what I know with other people. And that's what my entire journey, the basis of my entire journey has been, pushing other women and sharing my story, and hopefully they can learn from my story, because I do believe that when you hear someone else's story, it pushes you in your own journey and it gives you the strength and the desire, the inspiration to keep moving. So I absolutely applaud you for that. Let's just take a moment right now and if you're just tuning in to our show, this is Dream by Design with Melissa Banks. Today we're talking to Tonya Coleman, CEO of Saray Event Design. Now, Tonya, tell me, what do you think makes your business unique?
Oh, wow. Well, I think it was accidental, but I believe that my business sits in a very unique position right now because I have diversified my business into many, many revenue streams, all under the umbrella of Soiree Event Design. So, being in business, as being in business over 20 years, you and I both have seen many economic downturns. This isn't our first time with the pandemic where we have faced economic uncertainty with, recessions and things like that. So we've had to maneuver, and the blessing is that both of us have survived those things. And I believe that I attribute that to the fact of being able to pivot quickly, being able to really take stock of where your talents lie and be able to quickly be able to attach an entrepreneurial journey to those talents, wherever that is, and keeping it all within the same niche was super important for me. So I was able to create online offerings. I have courses. I have coaching programs. I have a graphic design side of my business that does not require an in-person element. My event planning side with the corporate clients right now, that is all in person. So that all got shut down with the pandemic, and all of those events that we had on the books for 2020 had to move to 2021. And luckily, they did not want to utilize any virtual components for their events. So I didn't have to go through that whole learning curve of figuring out how to do virtual events, which was a blessing all into itself. So I was able to pivot and really focus more on my online offerings instead. So I believe that what makes me unique is in Soiree Event Design is that I hybrided my company way back in the day. So I offered graphic design and event planning services to my clients. So usually, those are two separate people. And so my unique selling proposition to them, and it has actually helped me in getting projects over other people, is that my company provides graphic design for all your event graphics, from the logo to the invitations to the VIP passes, programs, screen graphics, producing your videos, all of that in one house on top of the logistics and event design. So we have kind of a trifecta going on with our corporate clients, and they love the fact that they don't have to communicate with three separate entities, and they can just communicate with our business, and we get it from the beginning. So we make sure that their vision is transferred across all that medium. So that's what makes us unique in that way. And then, of course, being able to offer other programs to a greater audience outside of that particular audience has been helpful for us, for sure, in the economic downturns that we faced.
Well, actually, what I was hearing from what you were saying, you had some things that were in place already So when COVID-19 hit, though you felt the impact on one side of your business, but because you were already prepared, you've heard people say, don't have to get ready, but be ready all the time.
That's right. Yep.
So because you had some things in place, the transition and the impact, I'm not saying you weren't impacted, but the impact was you were already ready to pivot into the other side of your business that could keep going during the COVID-19 and the time that we're going through. Some businesses who have to get ready would have to do all of that and then be able to pivot their business. So that was a wonderful way you had set up your business in itself.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay, so I was looking at your social.
No, I was going to say, that's a learning that I think that the pandemic taught all of us, event planners specifically in our industry, is you can't only rely on the in-person part of your business, that you really do need to diversify. And even if this was the first time you were hit with that and you had to pivot, at least for those who are doing it, they're doing it now. Now their business has two multiple streams going forward. Because this isn't going to be our last economic downturn. We can probably agree on that. So at least they'll be prepared.
Oh, absolutely.
And
I told you, Tonya, my business was based 100% on face-to-face interactions when March happened.
Yep.
So I've been doing this for a long time, so I had to pivot really quickly and figure out what that other side is going to look like. But thankfully, I had that drive in me, and I could go and I could immediately start learning those new skills for virtual event planning. I had to learn all of that and keep my business going. So, what it taught us, exactly what you said, is you got to have another side of your business, because this will not be the last time that we've had to do that. And because we've both been in business a long time, we both know that there are ups, and I talked about this yesterday. There's some real ups in the business, and it has turned and changed, and you have to adapt. And that was one of the biggest keys I felt that came out of 2020 and the COVID-19 era, is making sure that you have different elements and that you can pivot on a dime when necessary. So I think that's really awesome. Now, Tonya, I went to your social media, and you have a lot going on there. Your social media is a blast. I actually really enjoyed just listening to some of your old videos on there. So it was really a lot of fun to me, actually. But how important do you feel that social media is to the success of running your business?
Social media is everything for my business. What's funny is Soiree Event Design, I have, with the two separate focuses, my social media, I completely focus all of my social media to my clients that are absorbing my party tips, my kids' parties. They want to know how they can throw these amazing, fabulous parties at home for their kids and their friends and families. I really do focus it mostly to them and to those aspiring party planners who want to get into our industry, who really don't know how to take that hobby. They have that love. They got bit with that, that love of events early on, like we both did, but they don't really know how to transition that into making money. And so they're still in that hobby stage where they're doing it for friends and family for free, and, they don't know, but they're talented. They do amazing parties, but they just don't know how to make money from it effectively. And so I really do focus my social media on them, and that has been what I've done really from the beginning, from my blog. Most of the social media complements with what I share on my blog. And, I love to say that I provide the information and the tools and resources to be able to have like a professional party planner in your back pocket while you are planning your own events, as a stay-at-home mom, or a mom who just has, that love of planning parties, or aspiring party planners who want to do it for a living. So I focus it there, which is why you won't really see too many of my corporate events on there. I don't really talk too much about my graphic design clients. Like, I keep that for more of my, most of that business is all referral based, to be honest. So I've never really had to use social media to market that side of my business. So I've been lucky in that way. But my party planning, though, that's the fun stuff. That's the, let me show you how to make something cool and exciting, so when your kid walks in, they're like, they feel like a rock star at their own party, and the moms feel like rock stars because they were able to pull it off. And so that's where all that fun comes from, and that's where I'm passionate, which you can probably see in the videos. And I'm passionate about sharing that kind of information. So that is key. It's very, very important to develop a relationship with those people, because those are the people that will know, like, and trust you. So when they come to me, they know that when they come to my social media, they're going to get some value. They're going to find some fun party tips. If they're looking to get into the business, I give them resources on how to do it. So I try to keep that kind of girlfriend vibe, like girlfriend party planner vibe, through my social media, and I think I've done a good job in doing that over the years, because I've had my social media for years and years now.
You absolutely are doing a good job of doing that. That's why it was so refreshing to me to go through it as I was preparing for our interview and actually stop and listen to some of the interviews, as well as a training program. I believe you launched a training for partypreneurs, and I found those tips that you were giving in that area really helpful as well. I'm a true believer that social media is so important to building your business and connecting with your audience. So I know that you're running a successful business. You're working with some major brands. I saw that you, on your corporate side, you are working with some major brands. You're a mom. You're staying really busy. You're handling the ups and downs of running a business. And how do you get your encouragement? Do you have a mentor, or where do you go for encouragement and inspiration?
Yep. So I think it's weird. I go to different places depending on what it is that I'm trying to be inspired to do. I have found really recently Clubhouse to be extremely inspirational. It's that new platform where it's an audio only, where you just drop in and kind of listen to different conversations that are going on. And the wealth of topics that are available at any time. If I'm feeling, oh man, this is overwhelming as a mom married with kids trying to run my business from home, I jump on Clubhouse and there's somebody talking about that. So I get in there and I listen, and then you can share your story. So listening to other people's stories is extremely inspiring for me. On the business side, right now, you and I both are being mentored right now by David Tutera, and you can't get any better than that. He's the best of the best. And so learning and sitting in and listening to the valuable gems he drops, and just listening to it. And you know what, a lot of times he's reaffirming to me, because a lot of what he says I'm doing, and so then I'm like, yes, I'm doing it right. He said it. And so there's that. So he inspires me almost daily with his drive. He also has impressed me by his willingness to share so openly with us. And so, where we just started off this conversation saying that, both of us entered the industry with people not wanting to share with us. And then fast forward 20 years later, we're being shared to, with a wealth of knowledge from one of the best in the business sharing with us. So I believe that that's a 360 moment for me to be the learning and not the teacher. I'm usually in the teacher side of the situation with me teaching my partypreneur women. But being able to sit back and be taught is very, it's a nice change of pace, if you will, just to sit back and I learn something every single time. And, I always tell my students, you've got to be teachable, no matter how much success you've had in your business, no matter how long you've been in business, because being in business, most businesses fail. Most small businesses fail. And then when you layer on top of that, if you put black businesses on that, then that goes down. And then put black women businesses on top of that, and that goes down. So you and I both, we are fierce. We did it. That's a badge of honor. But that meant that we have been teachable over these years, because if you close yourself off and are not teachable, you can't adapt. You can't pivot. You can't do those things that have really been integral in both of our businesses being able to survive this long. And so I find inspiration in people's stories of overcoming obstacles and how they did it, and learning from what they've done. Learning from the best in the business is always the best way to go. You don't have to go through the know, like, trust factor. We already know, like, and trust, and know who David is, and we can trust that the information that he's sharing with us is right on the money. So that's where I get most of my inspiration from. And then my kids, oh my gosh, my kids. So, they're just amazing and creative people, and they inspire me every day. And, listening to their ideas when I sit down and want to plan a party for them, I let them pretty much guide me and let me know, what they want. And they come up with such great ideas, because, they don't have that filter or that kind of box around them. Their ideas just flow. And so I've been really lucky to have really creative kids.
Oh, that's wonderful. And finally, before we wrap up, I wanted to make sure that I wanted to ask you, what advice would you give to another woman who is considering the event industry and starting her business right now? What would be a key advice tip that you would give to her?
My number one piece of advice is, if you are doing parties right now for friends and family and you are not charging, you need to stop right now. Like, that needs to be over. You absolutely have to charge for your time. You absolutely have to charge for your talent. If you don't value your own time and talent, no one else will. So right away, that needs to stop. If you're in a situation where your friends and family don't want to pay you, that means they don't value your time and they don't value your time or your talent. Therefore, they should not be your clients. Secondly, my number two piece of advice is learn how to start a party planning business specifically, or an event planning business specifically, the right way the first time. It's very difficult to pivot a failed business. It's very hard to pivot once you've gotten into you started your business the wrong way. It can be done, but why? You know, there's so many resources and mentors and information out there that you can access so that you can start your business on the right foot. And look program that has really a 360 approach to business, not just the what do I need legally to start, and then you're left with, okay, well then how do I market my business? How do I brand my business? How do I find clients? How do I use social media? And then, Lord, how do I execute this thing? So, you know, find a program that's a 360 holistic thing and vet the person teaching you. Make sure they have a successful business. Look on their social media. Make sure that they're working with people that you want to work with. Make sure that they are positioning themselves in the marketplace the way they say they are. So those would be my three pieces of advice.
Oh, that advice is wonderful. This has been an amazing conversation, Tonya. I've really enjoyed our conversation today. Before we go, though, make sure you tell our audience how they can stay in contact with you.
Absolutely. So if you are interested and you are a new and aspiring party planner and interested in getting into this business, it is one of the best businesses you can get into. Melissa and I can attest that you will have the most fun ever. You can look into the partypreneurschool.com. So that's the partypreneurschool.com, and there you'll find lots of tools and resources. There's some free resources, there's some paid resources and courses and coaching programs to help you get started the right way, I put in quotes. And then if you just are looking for a community to hang out and you want to kind of get around some other new and aspiring party planners and learn, you know, without a fully structured business, you're more than welcome to join our free Facebook group. It's called the Partypreneur School of Party Planning. And then hop on in there. It's free. And, you know, I'm sharing free tools and resources in there. And you'll be around some really amazing women and get inspired to actually start your business.
Well, thank you. Thank you to Tonya Coleman, our guest, for being here today. And thank you to our audience for tuning in to today's edition of Dream by Design. I'm your host, Melissa Banks, saying all your dreams are possible. Believe in yourself, work hard, and don't quit. Until next time, thank you for choosing Dream by Design with Melissa Banks.